Hey guys, it's Dee here, and today I'll be doing a training on the fundamentals of fat loss. This is something that I've been wanting to do for a while because I get so many questions around fat loss, around weight loss. And when it comes to these topics, there's just so many myths and misconceptions, especially amongst women who are trying to lose weight. So if you're trying to lose weight right now, this training is for you. I'll be going over all the basics that you need to know around calories, metabolism, macros, all that good stuff. And I'm certain it's going to clear up a lot of the questions you guys have around nutrition, around things like fasting, belly fat, all of that. So stay with me. This training is going to be a little bit more technical, a little bit more science-based than most, but it is very important stuff to understand, especially if you're trying to lose weight right now and you want to do that sustainably. So I do have some slides that I'm going to use to aid in our learning today. So I'm going to share my screen and then we can get started. So I'm recording this on Zoom. I don't know how to present and show my face at the same time, so you're just going to have to pretend this sidebar here doesn't exist. But let's dive in. So fat loss fundamentals. Essentially, when it comes to fat loss, the most important thing is what's called a calorie deficit. I'm going to talk about what that is and how you can create that for yourself in your body. So essentially, calories, as many of you guys know, are the basic unit of energy in food. When you read a food label, you see on the back calories. That's how many units of energy are in that food item. So every single person needs a different amount of calories. The number of calories that you need is really going to depend on a variety of factors, including your height, your weight, your genetics, your body composition, how lean you are, how active you are, your age, all this good stuff. So the number of calories you need is going to be very different than the number of calories that I need or the number of calories that like your favorite influencer needs or your friend needs. So let's talk about this for a second. How many calories do you actually need? So when it comes to this, there's four main components that make up how many calories your body burns in a day. Let's go into these one by one. So the first thing that your body uses energy for is just survival. So if you laid in bed all day and did absolutely nothing, your body would still use energy. It would use energy to digest, to blink, to breathe, all that stuff. It takes energy even at rest. So that takes a lot of energy. That takes about 60% of your overall daily energy output is just survival functions. And that's called your basal metabolic rate, BMR. So that's about 60, sometimes 70%, depending on how active you are. And the next component that makes up how many calories you burn in a day is activity. So activity can be defined as non-exercise activity or exercise activity. So non-exercise activity is everything like walking, standing, fidgeting. Me recording this video is doing things with my body, right? So all of that takes energy, and that makes up anywhere between 25 to 40% of your daily energy needs. I have 25% on this slide. That's just for the visual purposes here. But it's going to play a really big part. People who are more active, who maybe get more steps in a day, are going to burn more in this non-exercise piece. People who are less active, very sedentary, are going to burn less in the non-exercise expenditure. And then if we exercise, that also takes energy as well, right? So that's another piece. Most people overestimate how many calories they burn in exercise. It's usually not a huge percentage of our daily output. And oftentimes fitness trackers that show your calorie output are pretty inaccurate. Several research studies have shown that, but that's a topic for another time. So that's the third piece. And then the last piece that makes up how many calories you burn in a day is called the thermic effect of food. So how many calories does it actually take for your body to break down proteins, break down carbs, break down fats, and convert that into energy? So that's a pretty small amount, from 5 to 10% of your total calories burned in a day. So let's actually take an example of this. Let's take a female. She's 180 pounds. She's 5'5". She's sedentary. She might burn at rest. If she laid in bed and did nothing, she might burn around 1,400 calories. If she's pretty sedentary, so she's not doing too much walking around in the day, so maybe she'll burn 400 in her non-exercise activity, another 300 in her workouts, and then just 100 in digestion. So totally in a day, she's burning 2,200 calories, 2,200 calories. It's what's called her total daily energy expenditure, TDEE. Now, if she eats this amount every single day, she's going to stay the same weight. Okay, that's called your maintenance calorie level. If she eats 2,200 calories every day, or on average, that consistently, she's going to stay the same weight. If she eats more than this, she's going to gain weight. That weight gain can either be body fat or it can be muscle tissue if she's strength training and lifting. And if she eats less than this, that's what we call a calorie deficit. She's going to lose weight. So this is essentially what it means to be in a calorie deficit, to be eating fewer calories than your body burns through daily activities and the resting expenditure. Now, when it comes to creating a calorie deficit, there's an extreme deficit and there's a moderate deficit, right? So for her, if her maintenance is 2,200, 2,200, and she cuts 1,000 calories, she goes super, super low to 1,200 calories a day, that's an extreme deficit. So she's going to probably be very hungry, have extreme cravings, low energy, be cranky. She's probably going to lose some muscle, have good energy in her workouts. And she's probably going to binge. She's probably going to have a really hard time sticking to an extreme deficit like this. And it's just not going to be fun, not going to be sustainable. So a lot of women, a big mistake I see a lot of women making when it comes to weight loss is they try and cut their deficit they try and eat super, super low calorie when, in reality, we want to be in a moderate deficit. For her, 1,800 calories is just slightly below her maintenance level. It's like 10, 20% below her maintenance. So it's this sweet spot where she's in a slight deficit, she's in a slight caloric deficit, but it's not so extreme that she's super hungry all the time. So she loses weight while feeling great. So ideally, this is what the basic concept of a calorie deficit. Again, we're trying to avoid this little yo-yo dieting picture right here. So this is a graphic I made on Instagram a few months back. Take a look at the screen if you're just listening to the audio right now. This is a woman who starts off, does an extreme diet, maybe sees some temporary weight loss if she can stick to things, but then the moment she has a stressful day, she goes on this kind of I deserve cookies binge, and then has this I might as well go all out, and then ends up gaining weight instead of losing it, and is caught in this cycle all over. So again, this is a really big reason why we want our calorie deficits to be moderate and not extreme. So when it comes to how many calories you actually need, like I said earlier, there's so much variance in everyone's calorie needs. A huge mistake I see people making is copying the calories that somebody else is eating. Somebody on Instagram says, oh, I'm eating like 1,600 calories, and then you try and eat 1,600 calories. It might not work because your body is different and your needs are different. And I'll talk at the end about how to know how many calories you should be eating. But for now, just know that there's so much variance in the human body. And so many women that I work with are really surprised to find that they can eat so much and still lose weight. So I want to share a few examples of you guys of a couple of women that we've worked with who really have different bodies and different caloric requirements. So our first example is this client, Aishwarya. I'm not going to go through all of this stuff on the screen, but if you're interested, you can pause the video and kind of look at her slide and look at her transformation. She lost about 60 pounds of body fat together, and she's eating 2,300 calories a day. So her body has a high caloric requirement. That's what a deficit looks like for her. She does have PCOS, she's a vegetarian, and before she had been trapped in this cycle of like going super low, binging, she was struggling with emotional eating, things like that. So her needs were 2,300, and she was able to eat that much while still losing about 60 pounds. So again, this is not your body, so her body is different, but the point of this is to just show variance in the human body. Hillary was another example. You can see her transformation here. Before she joined us, she had tried low carb, she had rebounded, and for her requirement for being in a moderate deficit was 1,750. So she achieved this transformation on that calorie level. Her goals when she joined was to achieve abdominal definition, which she did. And she was eating quite a few carbs while doing this, which she enjoyed after doing a low carb diet. So again, Hillary's body is different than Aishwarya's, which is different than yours. Everybody's needs are different. Here's Lauren. Here's another example. She was more petite, so her body required fewer calories to perform daily activities, because when your body is smaller, you have less cells that require energy, so your calorie needs are a little bit lower. So Lauren was eating 1,400 calories a day in strength training, and this is the progress that she saw. So different bodies, different calories. Yours are going to be different. Do not compare yours to these girls. Do not compare them to me or anybody else on Instagram. I really, really want to stress this point. Your calorie needs are going to be different. I will talk in a little bit about how to figure out how many calories you need. But going back to this concept of a calorie deficit is the only way to lose body fat, the only way. Any diet that you try that you lose weight with works because you create a calorie deficit. So look at this screen here. If you're just listening to the audio, take a look at this screen. All these diets, paleo, keto, Atkins, fasting, low carb, Whole30, all this stuff, the only reason that they work, if you can stick to them, is by creating a caloric deficit. It also, you know, I also want to clarify that it doesn't mean you will be in a caloric deficit if you do these diets, right? So on this next slide, I share how eating clean does not automatically mean you're going to be in a calorie deficit. Clean or nutritious dense foods still contain calories. As you can see here, olive oil, nuts, avocado, granola, all this stuff is like nutritious, wholesome food, but it still adds up and the calorie count does matter. This is not to scare you, this is not to make you, stress out, but it's just to inform you that calories do matter and nutrient quality matters as well, but your overall calorie intake matters too. So any diet that you try, the reason that it works for some people is by creating a calorie deficit, right? Low carb, if you're not eating an entire food group, you may be in a calorie deficit. If you're doing Whole30, you're not eating a bunch of processed foods, you're probably eating lower calories than if you were eating a bunch of processed foods. Intermittent fasting is a big one. If you're eating only between a certain time window every day, you may be in a calorie deficit. If you're skipping breakfast every day, right, your calories might have reduced. But a big caveat with this one is that it might also not. A lot of women who try intermittent fasting end up binge eating during their fasting window because they're so hungry, and then they get in a calorie maintenance level or a calorie surplus and they don't lose any weight. So intermittent fasting does not automatically mean you'll be in a deficit. You still, it's not going to be a magic solution for weight loss. You really need to still be in a calorie deficit. So we got that hammered, and we got that point hammered, we got the nail hammered into that point, whatever the phrase is. I want to also just call out here that you cannot spot reduce body fat. So for example, belly fat, hundreds of crunches will not make you lose belly fat. Where we lose weight first is really dependent on our genetics. Some women lose weight in their abdomen first, some women lose it in their face, some women lose it in their arms. Generally speaking, most women lose weight in their stomach and hips last, because that is kind of where our organs are, our reproductive stuff, and that's genetically where a lot of women are programmed to hold on to body fat, because we birth babies, right, down in that region. So we cannot spot reduce body fat. So really, please do not fall for the things on Pinterest, the like infographics that are like 100 ab workout, or do this exercise for abs every day. Like, no, that stuff is good clickbait. It gets a lot of clicks, it gets a lot of views on the internet, which is why it's perpetuated everywhere, but it is not possible to spot reduce belly fat. Actually, I've done a whole blog post on belly fat on the BBR blog. You guys can go check that out. It's on bossbodyrevolution.com. Check out our blog. But essentially, hundreds of crunches do not make you lose belly fat. Focusing on your nutrition, eating in a calorie deficit will make you lose belly fat. And for your training, I would focus on strength training, full body strength training, compound moves like squats, deadlifts, pushes that engage multiple muscle groups at once, including your core. So those moves will get you more bang for your buck than just doing a bunch of crunches. Because your stomach your abs are a pretty small muscle group. So I'd rather you do squats and engage your core at the same time and work multiple muscles at the same time and build strength all over than spend a whole workout doing a small muscle group. So get more bang for your buck with the workouts. This training is not about workouts, but I do want to just pinpoint this point that you cannot spot reduce belly fat. So going back to this concept of a calorie deficit. So are calories the only things that matter for weight loss? Not quite. So calories will determine whether you lose or gain weight, but the other thing that's important are what's called macros, which we'll talk about in a second. Macros and micros. And the reason that this is important is because there's a difference between weight loss and fat loss. So losing weight could be losing muscle, it could be losing body fat, you could be losing water weight, or you could be pooping. You could have a really big poo and drop a couple pounds. That doesn't mean you lost any body fat, right? Just because the scale changed. So ideally, we want to be losing fat, right? We don't just want to be losing weight. We can crash diet, we can go super low calorie, and our body essentially, when we're in a calorie deficit, it's going to either break down muscle tissue or it's going to break down body fat. And in order to retain the muscle and primarily break down body fat, what we need is two things. We need adequate protein, so we need enough protein for our bodies, and we need to be doing strength training, so some sort of resistance training. That's going to tell our bodies like, hey, we're using this muscle, you can't break this down, go to the body fat, use those energy stores instead of our muscle. So this is, what most women want to do to achieve that leaner and toned appearance. You're just going to feel better when you lose body fat, not just lose weight, right? Most people want to get more lean, more toned, more fit, rather than just becoming like a smaller version of themselves, but not as strong. So this is really where macros comes in. This is really where strength training is important. So macros, what are macros? Let's talk about this. I have this funny quote here. So apparently macros isn't short for macarons, sad, but macros essentially stands for macronutrients. There are three main macronutrients: protein, fat, and carbs. Technically, alcohol is a macro too, but the main ones we're going to focus on today are protein, fat, and carbs. This is what calories are made up of. So protein and carbs have 4 calories per gram. Fat has 9 calories per gram. So all calories come from macronutrients. And your body needs all of these to function best. So while eating in a deficit will determine whether you lose or gain weight, the right ratio of macros will make you feel your best, keep you full, and keep you satisfied. And like I said before, adequate protein will make sure that you retain muscle and lose primarily the body fat, so you get leaner and fitter and stronger and more toned. So quick understanding of like what macros are. Here's a little cheat sheet. You guys can screenshot this if you want. You can also Google this. I'll post this on our page at some point, but it's essentially like, what are macros? What are the different things? So most people know what protein is, like chicken, egg whites. Most meat products are going to be protein. Greek yogurt, protein powder, those are all primarily sources of protein. Carbs are going to be things like bread, rice, oats. You guys know what carbs are. Right? And then fat is going to be oils, butter, ghee, things like avocados, egg yolks, mayo. The interesting thing here is the overlap. So many foods fall into this overlap. So beans and lentils, for example, are a mix of protein and carbs. So for vegetarian clients, I typically have them count beans as a protein source, but for non-veg clients, I'll typically have them count beans as like a carb source, because they really do have both. Things like nuts, things like cheese are going to have protein and fat, so that's going to be in this overlap. Things like cookies, ice cream, all the good stuff is in this section here, the overlap between fat and carbs. So that combination of fat and carbs creates that really delicious mouthfeel in our mouth, which is why those foods taste so good. And then complete meals, things like sandwiches, even pizza is actually a mixture of all the macronutrients because it contains all of these. So understanding macros, understanding macronutrients can just help you have a better relationship with food. So instead of seeing foods as good or bad, when you understand macros and kind of understand the composition of food, you can just see it as like nutrients, and you can understand how these foods fit into your day. So if you have certain targets of like, this is how many calories I'm aiming for, this is how much protein I'm aiming for, this is how much fat and carbs, you can fit the things you enjoy into your day, right? Instead of being like, oh, I can never eat a cookie because cookies make you fat, you can understand like, okay, a cookie is a couple hundred calories. My requirements are 2,000 calories today. I can fit that cookie in and like balance out my day accordingly. So a lot of my clients love tracking macros because it helps you just understand food, really helps you fit the foods you enjoy into your targets. And it helps you learn how to be more moderate with indulgences. So one question I get asked a lot about this stuff is, well, Dee, does that mean I could just eat pizza and cookies, and if I was in a calorie deficit, I could lose weight? Technically, yes. Technically, you could eat pizza and cookies and ice cream and nothing else and be in a calorie deficit and lose weight, but you're not going to feel good. Your digestion is going to be super blocked up. You're probably going to be super constipated because you have no fiber. You're not going to get any micronutrients in your diet. So ideally, what I aim for with clients is around 80-20. So 80% whole, nutritious, nutrient-dense foods, 20% of the fun stuff and less nutritious stuff. So understanding macros can help you have a better relationship with food and understand nutrition better. It's a big reason why I don't prescribe rigid meal plans and I teach people how to track macros, because it really just helps you understand things and not fear foods blindly. So, okay, so that's kind of the basics of calories and macros. Just to recap, calorie deficit will determine whether or not you gain or lose weight. The right ratio of macros will help you feel best, help you perform best, and make sure that you're retaining muscle and not breaking down your muscle tissue. So when it comes to nutrition overall, we do want to also mention micros. So micro stands for micronutrients. Micronutrients are vitamins and minerals. And these come from eating nutrient-dense foods, things like fruits, vegetables, whole grains, all of that. So generally, you know, I don't recommend people need to track their micronutrients and like track all their vitamins, but eating a variety of foods in your diet, eating a balanced diet can help you get enough micronutrients and just, again, feel your best. So continuing on this little thread here, here's a little meal template you can use. This is one takeaway you can use today after watching this video. Try and have a balanced, macro mindset with your meals. Here's a little meal template you can use when you're eating out or when you're home. Filling half your plate with veggies, about a fist of carbs, about a palm of protein, and then a little bit of something sort of saucy or dippy for the fats, so oils here. So you guys can screenshot this. It's also on my Instagram page. I'm going to post an updated version of this at some point on the BBR page as well. So having this like macro mindset with your meals can make sure that all your meals are balanced, make sure that you get a well-rounded meal, and help you just reach your requirements for the day. So try and have this checklist. Like tonight when you're eating dinner, when you're eating lunch, when you're eating breakfast, ask yourself, is my meal balanced? Does it have some protein? Does it have some carbs? Does it have some fats? And does it have something veggie or fruit related so that I can get some micronutrients in? All right, so now that we understand the basics of calories, macros, weight loss, let's talk about actually how to know this stuff. So a question that you guys probably all have at this point is, how do I actually figure this out? How many calories do I need? What about macros? What about micros? Do I have to track these? What if I don't want to track calories? So let's talk about all this stuff. Everyone has different calorie requirements, and in order to figure out what your daily energy requirements are, you can use an online calculator. So there's many calculators online. The one from Precision Nutrition is well known. The one from IIFYM, ifitfitsyourmacros.com, is well known. You can enter your information in there and get some recommendations. But, big but here, every calculator online is really going to just be an estimate. No calculator online can take into account the huge range of human bodies, genetics, metabolism, energy output, right? So it's really just going to be a baseline estimate, which is why making adjustments is really, really key. So typically what I do with clients is we have our own calculator that we use in the BBR programs, and we give everybody initial recommendations for like nutrition, and we have a trial period. So the first 2 weeks on your program, we get a sense of like, how does your body feel on these levels? Also, sorry, there's a plane flying overhead. I'm recording this on the patio right now. That's what the noise is in the background. But essentially, we do a little trial period. The first maybe 2 weeks, usually it takes about 10 days, not even 2 weeks, to just get a sense of like, how do these values feel like? Are you feeling really full? Are you hungry all the time? How's your energy? How's your mood? How's your digestion? We really ask a very comprehensive list of questions to understand if those values are right for you. And if not, we'll make adjustments, right? If you're really sticking to your nutrition and not seeing results, it means your calories are too high. You're not in a deficit. So we'll need to adjust things to break your plateau, either decrease your calories a little bit, or maybe increase your movement, maybe get more steps in, maybe change up your workouts. So an online calculator is key. I will also say that, you know, a lot of online calculators, especially for women, really lowball you. So they really target how many calories you need. I've had a lot of clients who use the calculator that is in MyFitnessPal, for example, or other apps that tell them they can only eat 1,200 calories a day, when in reality they could eat way more than that and lose weight. So, you know, be careful about like lowballing. If the calculator recommends you something that is really, really low, it's going to be really hard for you to stick to, then, you know, question that, and that might not actually be right for your body. So yeah, this is why adjustments are really, really key. Now's the next question, right? The question that you guys are probably all wondering, and I get asked all the time: do you have to track your calories to lose weight? And the answer is no, you don't have to. But doing it for a short time can help you understand nutrition and help you just ensure that you're in a calorie deficit. So there are ways to lose weight without tracking, right? If you wanted to do low carb, by removing a whole food group, you might be in a deficit. But if you're not losing weight with that, then you might not be in a deficit. So it could be worth tracking for a few days to see. The other thing with like extreme things that remove entire food groups is while they might put you in a deficit, they just might not be sustainable, right? Are you gonna not eat carbs forever? What's gonna happen when you start eating carbs again? So if that's the method you choose to create a deficit, really think about what's going to happen when you stop that type of diet. So other things that can help people with being in deficit without tracking are just more mindful eating. So building an awareness of like, am I actually hungry? Is this emotional hunger? Is it boredom? What kind of hunger is this? And really just eating only when you're hungry, stopping when you're full, focusing on those more mindful eating behaviors, and like really developing good intuition around food. Many people can see success with that, but it's not guaranteed, right? You could be mindfully eating and listening to your hunger cues, but you still might be eating at maintenance. So that's why I usually recommend tracking at least for a short period, a week or two, to just understand what does it feel like to eat the right amount for me, for my body, and just learn about nutrition. If you've never tracked anything before, it could help to just learn and educate yourself. So you don't have to, but doing it for a little while can really help things and help with accuracy of things. So that's my 2 cents there. And then in terms of macros, for most people don't need to track and hit like specific carb, fat, protein targets. For most of my clients, I just have them hit calories and protein, and then carbs and fats can be a personal preference since they're both energy sources. Some people prefer eating a higher carb diet. Some people prefer eating a higher fat diet. As long as they're in the calorie deficit, it doesn't matter either way for the majority of people. For some women, such as those who have PCOS or maybe a hormonal condition, the exact carb and fat ratios can be important. So I might have them track that. So long story short, focus on calories and protein first, and just make sure that you're eating enough for your body. Okay, so we talked a lot so far about calories, calorie deficits, macros, micros. Now, you guys just absorbed a ton of information into your brain. Let's talk about execution, actually doing this, right? There's one thing to watch this video and like know all this stuff and get excited because you learned, but there's another thing to actually go out there in the real world and execute and stay consistent to a calorie deficit. So this is where building healthy habits and behaviors is key, right? Building healthy habits, building healthy behaviors will help you tie all this together and help you see long-lasting results. Focusing on your habits and behaviors will also help make sure that you're set up for long-term success and don't rebound and regain the weight back, right? Like I said before, if you focus on something extreme, unsustainable right now, you might lose some weight, but what's gonna happen when you stop doing keto? You're probably gonna lose it back once you start gain it back once you start eating normally again, because you haven't built any habits or behaviors. Okay, so let's talk about some of the behaviors that are required to lose weight. One of them, like I mentioned before, is just appetite awareness, really understanding when you're hungry, when you're full, being able to separate physical hunger from emotional hunger, like boredom and stress, mindful eating, really paying attention to your body and food, balanced nutrition, understanding nutrition, eating regular balanced meals and snacks in the right amounts, in the right ratios for your body, meal planning, doing some level of just like meal preparation so you're prepared and aren't caught off guard for the week ahead, especially when times get stressful, right? I didn't put stress management on here, but that is a very big one because most people do fall off the wagon when times get stressful. So one of the really important core habits for sustaining your weight loss is developing like tools to cope with stress. I'm actually going to just write that on here because it's so important. Another one is just being 80-20 with indulgences. So really developing the skills and the habits to indulge and eat the foods that you enjoy in moderation and practice some of that like self-regulation around your favorite treats. And then regular exercise, of course, can help. And then speaking of exercise, we didn't talk about exercise too much on this, but exercise can help to create a calorie deficit. But for most people, it's going to be easier to do that via food than really doing a ton more workouts. And if you are going to be doing workouts, I strongly recommend doing strength training so that you build and retain lean muscle mass, improve your body, change your body composition, and just get leaner in this process. Most women really don't need to do that much cardio to lose weight. If you focus on your nutrition, do a quality strength training program, you can lose weight and get fitter. I don't know what's going on, you guys. There's like 5 planes going overhead right now. It's like the time of day when all the planes fly. So bear with me on this. I'm recording this on my patio. Okay, cool. So just to recap, yes, we need the tactical, technical pieces to lose weight. You need to be in a deficit, but you really need to focus on the behavioral, mindset, and emotional pieces to actually execute, to stay consistent, and to lose weight. A big mistake a lot of women make is they focus way too much on like the tactics of like, oh, like dieting, calories, this and that, instead of focusing on like behaviors, which are equally important. Right? You need to have the right behaviors to set yourself up for long-term success. So in our coaching programs, in the BBR coaching programs, we focus on both. So we focus on the both tactical pieces and the behavioral pieces. So we give you personalized nutrition and training plans for your body to lose weight, tone up, have more energy, just feel better in your skin overall. And we work on the habit building and the behavioral pieces so you see lasting results without the yo-yoing. Things like dealing with emotional eating, dealing with stress, building meal prepping habits, having a good relationship with food, eating out, like all of those like life things that happen in real life. We really work on those pieces in conjunction with the technical pieces to make sure that you're not only losing weight right now, but you also keep it off long term. We also do provide tons of support, tons of accountability, tons of motivation from our coaches and our team so you don't fall off the wagon when life gets nuts, as well as education and empowerment so you guys are self-sustaining long term. As you guys have noticed from my content, education is really, really important for everybody that I work with. I want you to really understand why you're doing what you're doing and not just following random plans blindly. So that's a big component of what we do and what we offer. So if you're interested in working with us, if you're interested in working with me and my team, definitely go ahead, click the link in my bio to apply. We have a limited number of spots every month. And if you click the link in my bio, you can apply and book a call with my team to learn more about coaching if that's something that you want to do. So we work with women all over the world with a range of conditions. We work with women with PCOS, with hypothyroidism, with none of that, women who are in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, even 60s. So you can go ahead, click the link in my bio if you want to learn more about coaching. And that's all I have for today. So quick recap, calorie deficit is what you need to lose weight. The right macros will help you lose primarily body fat, retain lean muscle. And micronutrients are important. Also focus on your habits and behaviors as well as the technical pieces of weight loss. I hope this video was educational. This went longer than I expected, but I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please pop your comments in the box below and I will answer them. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure to subscribe for more videos. If you're watching this on Instagram, IGTV, make sure to follow us, share this with your friends, tag your friends below who'd be interested in this. Can't wait to hear your questions. I will answer them in the comments below. All right, have a great day, you guys, and see you later.